Ever wonder why Venezuela, a country rich in resources, grapples with significant challenges? It's a question that has puzzled many, and to find the answer, we need to examine the paradoxical nature of this South American nation. Nestled on the northern coast of South America, Venezuela is a land of breathtaking landscapes. From the snow-capped Andes in the west, the vast plains of Los Llanos in the center, to the impenetrable jungles of the Amazon in the south. But it's not just the physical beauty that sets Venezuela apart. This country is also home to one of the world's largest oil reserves, a resource that has been both a boon and a bane for its people. Imagine, if you will, a country with an abundance of oil, a resource that many countries vie for. It's like winning the lottery, right? Well, not quite. The reality is far more complex, and ironically, this bounty has often been more of a curse than a blessing. This is the paradox of Venezuela. The country's economy is heavily dependent on oil, so much so that when oil prices fluctuate on the global market, Venezuela's economy also swings wildly. And it's not just the economy that's affected. The country's societal fabric and political landscape are also intertwined with this black gold. Over-reliance on oil has shaped Venezuela's political decisions, social dynamics, and even its international relations. But how did this come to be? How did a country so rich in resources find itself in such a precarious situation? The answer lies in Venezuela's history, a tale of boom and bust cycles, of political power plays, and a society in flux. So, as we embark on this journey to understand Venezuela, remember that it's more than just the headlines. It's about understanding the interplay of history, geography, and society, the forces that have shaped and continue to shape this enigmatic nation. It's time to delve deeper into Venezuela's history to understand its present conundrum. Rewind to the 16th century, when Venezuela was a Spanish colony. Our voyage through time takes us back to the era when the Spanish Empire set its sights on the New World. They found Venezuela, a land of immense beauty, rich in resources, and inhabited by indigenous communities. The Spanish conquest didn't just change the physical landscape, it profoundly altered the cultural and societal fabric of Venezuela, setting the stage for centuries of Spanish rule. During these colonial times, Venezuela's wealth was exploited, its resources drained, and its people subjected to the harsh rule of a foreign power. A hierarchical society emerged, with the Spanish-born elites at the top and the indigenous and African-descended populations at the bottom. This social stratification would echo throughout Venezuela's history, shaping its society and politics in profound ways. Fast forward to the early 19th century, the winds of change were blowing across Latin America. A figure emerged from the shadows of history, a man who would change the course of Venezuela's destiny: Simon Bolivar. Bolivar, often referred to as El Libertador, ignited the flame of independence. He rallied the people, led them in a fight against the Spanish, and finally, after a long and bloody struggle, won freedom for Venezuela in 1821. However, independence didn't bring the stability Venezuela yearned for. The country was thrown into a period of political volatility, marked by dictatorships and power struggles. The social hierarchy that had been established during the colonial era continued to persist, with the elites retaining power and wealth while the majority remained impoverished. This turbulent history has had a profound impact on Venezuela, shaping its society, politics, and economy. The legacies of colonialism, the fight for independence, and the subsequent political instability have left indelible marks on the country. They continue to influence Venezuela's present and will undoubtedly shape its future. The turbulent history has had a profound impact on Venezuela's society and economy. Fast forward to the 20th century, when Venezuela hit the oil jackpot. As the world industrialized, the demand for oil skyrocketed, and Venezuela, sitting on the largest oil reserves in the world, was perfectly positioned to capitalize. The discovery of black gold transformed the nation's economy, propelling it from a largely agrarian society to a modern, oil-dependent economy in a matter of decades. During the oil boom, prosperity was the order of the day. The country's GDP grew exponentially, and the standard of living rose significantly. The government used the oil wealth to fund social programs, infrastructure development, and other public services. The capital, Caracas, transformed into a bustling metropolis, and for a time, Venezuela was one of the wealthiest nations in Latin America. However, as we all know, what goes up must come down. and in the case of Venezuela, the fall was steep and harsh. The global oil market is notoriously volatile, and when oil prices plunged in the 1980s, the Venezuelan economy, which had become overly reliant on oil revenues, took a severe hit. The period of prosperity was replaced by economic collapse, with skyrocketing inflation, dwindling foreign reserves, and mounting public debt. This economic downturn had far-reaching consequences. Social unrest and political instability ensued as the government struggled to maintain public services and social programs. The oil bust exposed the vulnerabilities of an economy overly reliant on a single commodity and the perils of failing to diversify. The ripple effects of the oil boom and bust are still felt today. The economic hardships have fueled political polarization and social tensions, making Venezuela a complex tapestry of challenges and opportunities. As the country grapples with its past and navigates its way towards a sustainable future, it's crucial to understand the role oil has played in shaping its destiny. The oil boom and bust cycle has created a complex socio-economic landscape in Venezuela. Understanding this landscape is key to comprehending the enigma that is Venezuela today. Now let's bring our time machine to the present day. As we arrive in contemporary Venezuela, we find ourselves in the midst of a country wrestling with a multitude of challenges. On the political front, Venezuela is caught in an ongoing crisis. Disputes over the legitimacy of presidential power have created a divided government with two leaders claiming the presidency. This political tug-of-war has only amplified the nation's issues, creating an environment of uncertainty and instability. Economically, Venezuela's challenges are just as daunting. The nation grapples with hyperinflation, a term that barely does justice to the economic turmoil Venezuelans face daily. The value of the bolivar, the national currency, is so volatile that prices for everyday goods can skyrocket in a matter of hours. This economic instability has led to widespread shortages of essential goods, from food to medicine, making everyday life a struggle for many Venezuelans. Societally, these economic hardships have had profound impacts. The societal fabric of Venezuela is strained, with high levels of violent crime and a humanitarian crisis that has seen millions of Venezuelans flee their homeland in search of better opportunities. The international community has not remained silent in the face of Venezuela's trials. Nations around the globe have offered aid, imposed sanctions, and put forth proposals for political resolution. Yet the effectiveness of these measures remains a subject of debate, and the path forward for Venezuela is anything but clear. This brings us to the question of what the future holds for Venezuela. Will it find a way to resolve its political crisis and stabilize its economy? Can it rebuild its societal fabric and reverse the humanitarian crisis? These are questions only time can answer. What we do know is this: Venezuela is a nation of resilience. Its people have endured hardships with a spirit of perseverance that speaks to the strength of their national character. Venezuela's present reflects its complex past, and its future remains uncertain. But if history has taught us anything, it's that Venezuela's story is far from over. So what can we learn from Venezuela's story? In our journey through the enigmatic landscape of this South American nation, we've seen the interplay of history, geography, and society weave a complex tapestry. The story of Venezuela is not just about oil, political turmoil, or economic challenges. It's about the intricate dance of socio-political forces, the land's bounty, and the indomitable spirit of its people. We've traveled through time, from the formative historical epochs that shaped the nation's identity to the oil boom that promised prosperity, only to lead to an economic bust. We've navigated the tumultuous currents of contemporary Venezuela, where the echoes of the past reverberate in the present. Understanding Venezuela requires us to look beyond the headlines. The headlines are just the tip of the iceberg, the visible part of a much larger, complex narrative. Beneath the surface, there are layers of history, geography, and society that need to be explored to fully comprehend the situation. Venezuela is a country rich in resources, but it's the people who are its true wealth. Their resilience and spirit, despite the challenges, are a testament to the human capacity to hope and strive for a better future. So let's challenge ourselves to delve deeper, to question, to learn, and to understand. Venezuela's saga is a reminder that every nation's story is multifaceted, shaped by a myriad of factors that go beyond what we see in the news. The world is full of stories waiting to be discovered, understood, and shared, and each of these stories adds a new dimension to our understanding of the human experience. Remember, every country has a story, and it's our job to listen. Subscribe, like, and share for more insightful journeys into the histories of nations around the world.